Mr. Sterling, CEO of Sterling Solutions, surveyed his office with a satisfied smirk. Gleaming mahogany, a cityscape view that stretched for miles, and a desk so polished you could see your reflection, everything screamed success. And Mr. Sterling loved screaming success. He adjusted his silk tie, a tie that probably cost more than Miguel, the cleaning guy, made in a month. His tailored suit felt like a second skin, perfectly molded to his, well, let's just say perfectly molded. He patted his expensive watch, a nervous habit. Time was money, and Mr. Sterling hated wasting either. He glanced at the Picasso replica on the wall, a subtle, or not so subtle, reminder of his refined taste. He knew it was a replica, but who needed the real thing when the illusion of wealth was just as effective? He strode to the window, gazing down at the ant-like figures scurrying below. They were all striving, working, dreaming of being where he was. Little did they know, he thought with a sneer, it took more than hard work. It took ruthlessness, ambition, and a complete disregard for anyone else's feelings. His phone buzzed. A reminder about the charity gala tonight. Ooh. Another evening of forced smiles and shallow conversations with people who only wanted something from him. But it was a necessary evil. Appearances, after all, were everything. He practiced his charming smile in the reflection of the window, the smile that could convince anyone of anything. He was a master manipulator, a puppet master pulling the strings of the corporate world. And he was good at it. Very good. The best, even. He chuckled to himself, a low, self-satisfied sound. Today was going to be a good day. He could feel it. A day for deals, for power, for proving once again that he was the king of his domain. The door to his opulent office creaked open, interrupting Mr. Sterling's self-admiration session. Miguel shuffled in, pushing a cleaning cart that seemed ancient compared to the sleek, modern furnishings of the room. Miguel was a small man, with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor, but his shoulders carried the weight of years. He wore a faded blue uniform, a stark contrast to Mr. Sterling's designer suit. Miguel always arrived precisely at 7 a.m., a fact Mr. Sterling both appreciated and resented. Appreciated because he liked things done on time, resented because Miguel's punctuality was a silent reminder that even the CEO had to rely on someone else. He greeted Mr. Sterling with a quiet, "Good morning, sir." His voice was soft, almost hesitant. Mr. Sterling barely acknowledged him. "Just try to be quick about it, Miguel. I have important calls to make." He waved a dismissive hand, already turning back to the window. Miguel nodded and began his work, his movement slow and deliberate. He carefully wiped down the desk, taking extra care around the expensive pen set. He emptied the trash can, the clinking of discarded paper a subtle intrusion into Mr. Sterling's self-important world. As he dusted the bookshelf, Miguel paused for a moment, his gaze lingering on a small, framed photograph tucked away in a corner. It was a picture of a group of young men in military uniforms, their faces beaming with youthful exuberance. Miguel's eyes softened, a hint of sadness in their depths. He quickly wiped the frame and moved on, as if afraid someone would notice his moment of reflection. He moved to vacuum the carpet, the hum of the machine filling the room. Mr. Sterling grimaced. The noise was disrupting his train of thought. He swiveled around in his chair, ready to unleash his displeasure on the unsuspecting cleaner. "Honestly, Miguel," Mr. Sterling began, his voice dripping with disdain. "Are you even trying? This carpet still looks like it hasn't been cleaned in weeks. I pay you to keep this place spotless, not to shuffle around like a..." He paused, searching for the most demeaning comparison. "Like a snail." Miguel stopped vacuuming, his face falling slightly. He switched off the machine, the sudden silence amplifying Mr. Sterling's harsh words. He looked down at the carpet, then back up at Mr. Sterling, his eyes filled with a quiet sadness. "I am doing my best, sir," Miguel replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Perhaps there is a stain I missed." He bent down, examining the carpet closely. Mr. Sterling scoffed. "A stain? Please. The whole thing is a disgrace. You're lucky I don't fire you on the spot." Honestly, I could find someone off the street who could do a better job. He crossed his arms, a smug expression on his face. He enjoyed making people feel small, especially those he considered beneath him. It reinforced his sense of superiority. He continued, his voice rising in volume. I mean, what kind of life is this anyway? Pushing a vacuum cleaner around all day? Don't you have any ambition? Any drive? Anything? He gestured wildly, his expensive watch flashing in the light. You're wasting your life, Miguel. Wasting it. He paused, expecting Miguel to cower or apologize. But Miguel simply stood there, his gaze steady, his expression unreadable. It was almost unnerving. Mr. Sterling shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't used to people not reacting to his outbursts. He usually got tears, apologies, or at least a visible sign of distress. Miguel's stoicism was throwing him off. He needed to push harder to break through that calm facade. Tell me, Miguel, he sneered, leaning forward. What exactly have you accomplished in your life? Anything worth mentioning? Anything at all? Miguel took a deep breath, his gaze still steady. I served my country, sir, he said, his voice calm but firm. For many years. I did what I was asked to do, and I did it with honor. Mr. Sterling raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. Served your country? As what? A cook? A clerk? Don't tell me you actually saw any action. He chuckled, clearly not believing Miguel's words. He pictured Miguel as a clumsy recruit, tripping over his own feet. Miguel's eyes flickered for a moment, a hint of pain flashing across his face. But he quickly regained his composure. I was a soldier, sir. I fought in different places. He didn't elaborate, his tone suggesting he didn't want to delve into the details. Mr. Sterling wasn't buying it. A soldier? Right. And I'm the King of England. Look, Miguel, I appreciate a good story as much as the next guy, but let's be realistic. You're a cleaner. That's what you are. That's all you'll ever be. He turned away, dismissing Miguel's claims with a wave of his hand. Now, if you don't mind, I have important things to do. Just finish cleaning and try not to break anything. He sat down at his desk, pretending to focus on his computer screen. But he couldn't shake the image of Miguel standing there, his face etched with a quiet dignity. He felt a flicker of unease, a tiny voice in the back of his head questioning his behavior. But he quickly silenced it. He was Mr. Sterling, and he didn't need to justify himself to anyone, especially not a cleaner. He was about to open an email when a knock sounded on the door. Come in, he barked, his voice still laced with irritation. The door opened, and a tall, imposing figure entered the room. He was dressed in a crisp military uniform, his chest adorned with medals. Mr. Sterling's jaw dropped. This was no ordinary visitor. This was General Thompson, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he was walking straight towards Miguel. Miguel! General Thompson boomed, his voice filling the room with authority. He strode towards Miguel, extending his hand. It's good to see you again, Sergeant Major Rodriguez. It's been too long. Mr. Sterling watched in stunned silence as Miguel straightened up, a faint smile appearing on his face. He reached out and shook the general's hand with a firm grip. General Thompson, Miguel replied, his voice now clear and confident. It is an honor, sir. The general chuckled. Honor? The honor is all mine, Miguel. You saved my life back in Kandahar. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for your bravery. He clapped Miguel on the shoulder, his eyes filled with genuine respect. Mr. Sterling's mind was reeling. Sergeant Major? Kandahar? Saving the general's life? This couldn't be the same Miguel he had just been berating. This couldn't be the same snail he had accused of wasting his life. He felt a wave of nausea wash over him. General Thompson turned his attention to Mr. Sterling, his expression hardening. Mr. Sterling, I presume? I wanted to personally thank Sergeant Major Rodriguez for his service. He's a true hero, a man of incredible courage and integrity." He paused, his gaze piercing. "I understand he works here." "You're lucky to have him." Mr. Sterling stammered, "Why yes, General. Of course. We're very fortunate." He trailed off, unable to meet the General's intense stare. He felt like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar. The General nodded curtly. "Well, I won't keep you. I just wanted to pay my respects. Sergeant Major, it was good seeing you. Take care of yourself." He turned and left the office, leaving Mr. Sterling and Miguel in an awkward silence. The air hung heavy with unspoken words and simmering regret. Mr. Sterling knew, in that moment, that his world was about to change. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Mr. Sterling finally found his voice, but it was a mere whisper of its former arrogance. "Sergeant Major Rodriguez," he mumbled, avoiding Miguel's gaze. I had no idea." Miguel simply nodded, his expression unreadable. He picked up his vacuum cleaner, the hum of the machine suddenly sounding like a roar in the small space. He continued cleaning, as if nothing had happened. But Mr. Sterling knew that everything had changed. He watched Miguel, his mind racing. How could he have been so wrong? How could he have judged someone so harshly based on their job? He thought about his own life, his relentless pursuit of wealth and power. Had he become so blinded by ambition that he had lost sight of what truly mattered? He stood up, his legs feeling weak. He walked over to Miguel, his voice trembling slightly. "Miguel," he said, "I owe you an apology. A big one. I said some terrible things, and I was completely out of line. You deserve so much more respect than I showed you." Miguel stopped vacuuming and turned to face him, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and understanding. "It's all right, Mr. Sterling," he said softly. "Everyone makes mistakes." Mr. Sterling shook his head. "No, it's not all right. I was arrogant and disrespectful. I judged you without knowing anything about you. I'm ashamed of myself." He paused, searching for the right words. "Is there anything I can do to make it up to you?" Miguel thought for a moment, then a small smile appeared on his face. "There is one thing," he said. "There's a veterans' hospital downtown. They're always looking for volunteers. Maybe you could spend some time there. Talk to the veterans. Hear their stories." Mr. Sterling looked surprised, but then he nodded. I can do that. I will do that." He felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, he could start to become a better person. The General's visit and Miguel's quiet dignity had cracked his carefully constructed facade of arrogance, revealing a vulnerability he had long tried to suppress. And in that vulnerability, there was a chance for change. The following Saturday, Mr. Sterling found himself standing nervously in the lobby of the Veterans Hospital. He felt completely out of place in his expensive suit, surrounded by men and women who had sacrificed so much for their country. He checked in at the front desk, his hands clammy. He was assigned to visit with Mr. Johnson, a veteran who had served in Vietnam. Mr. Sterling hesitated outside the door, taking a deep breath. He knocked softly and entered the room. Mr. Johnson was an elderly man, his face etched with wrinkles and his eyes filled with a quiet sadness. He was sitting in a wheelchair, staring out the window. Mr. Sterling introduced himself, his voice still shaky. "Mr. Johnson, my name is Mr. Sterling, and I'm here to spend some time with you." Mr. Johnson turned to face him, a faint smile appearing on his lips. "Well, Mr. Sterling, pull up a chair. I've got plenty of stories to tell." And so, Mr. Sterling listened. He listened to Mr. Johnson's stories of courage, of loss, of camaraderie, and of the horrors of war. He listened for hours, his heart aching with empathy and respect. He heard stories of bravery that made his own accomplishments seem insignificant. He heard stories of sacrifice that made his own pursuit of wealth seem shallow. He learned about the invisible wounds of war, the trauma that lingered long after the battles were over. He learned about the importance of community, of support, and of honoring those who had served. As he left the hospital that day, Mr. Sterling felt like a different person. He had come expecting to offer comfort, but he had received so much more in return. He had received a lesson in humility, a lesson in gratitude, and a lesson in the true meaning of service. He knew that his journey of change had just begun, but he was determined to keep walking down that path. He owed it to Miguel, he owed it to Mr. Johnson, and he owed it to himself. He finally understood that true success wasn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the impact you had on the lives of others. He knew that he still had a long way to go, but he was finally heading in the right direction. The following Monday, Mr. Sterling arrived at the office earlier than usual. He was eager to see Miguel, to thank him again, and to share his experience at the Veterans Hospital. He found Miguel cleaning his office, just like always. "Good morning, Miguel," Mr. Sterling said, his voice warm and genuine. Miguel smiled. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling. How was your weekend?" "It was eye-opening," Mr. Sterling replied. "I visited the Veterans Hospital, just like you suggested. I met a man named Mr. Johnson. He told me some incredible stories." He paused, searching for the right words to express the impact the visit had had on him. "I learned a lot. About courage, about sacrifice, about what really matters in life." He looked at Miguel, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Miguel. For suggesting it. For giving me a chance to see things differently." Miguel nodded, his smile widening. "I'm glad you found it helpful, Mr. Sterling." Mr. Sterling hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. "I wanted to do something more. I've made a donation to the Veterans Hospital, in your name, Miguel. I hope it helps." Miguel looked surprised, then touched. "Mr. Sterling, that's very kind of you." "It's the least I can do," Mr. Sterling replied. He paused, then added, "And Miguel? I want you to know that I'm going to try to be a better person. A more respectful person. A more human person." Miguel's eyes twinkled. "I believe you can, Mr. Sterling. I see the change in you already." Mr. Sterling smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Thank you, Miguel. That means a lot." He turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and Miguel? About the carpet, it looks great. Really great." Miguel chuckled. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling. I appreciate that." As Mr. Sterling walked to his desk, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. He knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was finally on the right path. He had learned a valuable lesson from a humble cleaner, a lesson that had changed his life forever. And he was grateful. So very grateful. He thought to himself, never judge a book by its cover. Weeks turned into months, and Mr. Sterling continued to volunteer at the Veterans Hospital. He became a regular fixture there, known for his genuine kindness and willingness to listen. He organized fundraising events, helped with administrative tasks, and spent countless hours talking to the veterans, learning from their experiences and offering them support. He even started bringing his children to the hospital, wanting them to understand the importance of service and sacrifice. He wanted them to grow up with empathy and compassion, qualities he had lacked for so long. At work, Mr. Sterling was a different CEO. He treated everyone with respect, from the mailroom clerk to the senior executives. He valued their opinions, listened to their concerns, and recognized their contributions. He realized that a company was only as strong as its people, and that everyone deserved to be treated with dignity. He often thought about Miguel, about the lesson he had learned from the humble cleaner. He realized that true strength wasn't about wealth or power, but about character and integrity. He realized that judging people based on their job or their background was not only wrong, but also foolish. You never knew what someone had been through, what challenges they had overcome, or what hidden talents they possessed. One day, Mr. Sterling was walking through the office when he saw a new employee struggling to carry a heavy box. Without hesitation, he rushed over to help, lifting the box with ease. The employee looked surprised, then grateful. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling," he said. "I didn't expect the CEO to be helping me out." Mr. Sterling smiled. "We're all in this together," he said. "And besides," he added with a wink, "I've learned a thing or two about hard work." As he walked away, Mr. Sterling felt a sense of satisfaction. He had come a long way from the arrogant CEO he once was. He was still learning, still growing, still striving to be a better person. But he was finally on the right track. And it all started with a lesson from a cleaner named Miguel, a lesson he would never forget. He started greeting Miguel with "Good morning, Sergeant Major," every morning, and they would chat briefly about the news. The carpet always looked great. Years passed. Sterling Solutions continued to thrive, not just financially, but also ethically. Mr. Sterling made sure the company gave back to the community, supporting veterans' causes and other charitable organizations. He instilled a culture of respect and empathy, where everyone felt valued and appreciated. He never forgot Miguel. Miguel continued to clean his office every morning, and their brief chats became a cherished ritual. Mr. Sterling learned about Miguel's life, about his family, about his dreams for the future. He realized that Miguel was so much more than just a cleaner. He was a hero, a survivor, a man of quiet dignity and unwavering integrity. One day, Miguel came to Mr. Sterling with a request. "Mr. Sterling," he said, "I'm getting older, and cleaning is becoming difficult for me. I'm thinking about retiring." Mr. Sterling felt a pang of sadness. He didn't want Miguel to leave. But he also knew that Miguel deserved to rest and enjoy his retirement. "Miguel," he said, "I understand. You've earned it. But before you go, I want to do something for you." He paused, then smiled. "I want to offer you a job. Not a cleaning job. A real job. I want you to be a consultant for Sterling Solutions. I want you to advise me on matters of ethics and integrity. I want you to help me make sure that we're always doing the right thing." Miguel looked surprised, then deeply touched. "Mr. Sterling," he said, "I don't know what to say." "Say yes, Miguel," Mr. Sterling replied. "Say yes, and let me show you how much I appreciate everything you've done for me." Miguel smiled, his eyes twinkling with happiness. "Yes, Mr. Sterling," he said. "I would be honored." And so, Miguel became a consultant for Sterling Solutions, a role he filled with wisdom, compassion, and a deep understanding of human nature. He helped Mr. Sterling create a company that was not only successful, but also a force for good in the world. He was still a hero, just in a different way. The carpet always looked great, but now, so did the company's conscience. And so, Mr. Sterling's story became a legend within Sterling Solutions. A reminder that even the most arrogant and successful people can change, that everyone deserves respect, and that true strength lies not in wealth or power, but in humility and compassion. He often told the story himself, sharing it with new employees and at company events. He wanted everyone to know about Miguel, about the lesson he had learned, and about the importance of treating everyone with kindness and respect. One day, a young intern asked him, "Mr. Sterling, what's the most important thing you've learned in your life?" Mr. Sterling smiled, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. "Never judge a book by its cover," he said. "And always, always, be grateful for the people who clean your office." He continued to volunteer at the Veterans Hospital, and he continued to learn from the veterans, from their courage, their sacrifice, and their unwavering spirit. He became a champion for veterans' causes, using his influence and resources to support those who had served their country. He even reconnected with General Thompson, becoming a close friend and confidant. They often spoke about Miguel, about his bravery, and about the impact he had had on both of their lives. Mr. Sterling's transformation was complete. He was no longer the arrogant CEO who had once looked down on others. He was now a humble and compassionate leader, a man who valued people over profits, and who understood the true meaning of success. And it all started with a lesson from a cleaner, a lesson that changed his life forever. A lesson that proved that even 9 minutes can be enough to change everything. He looked out his window, no longer seeing ants scurrying below, but individuals, each with their own story, their own struggles, and their own potential for greatness. He knew that every single one of them deserved his respect, his empathy, and his kindness. And he was determined to give it to them. Every single day. The end.